Hello everyone, and in this video I will be attempting to beat Castle Crashers without getting or using any items. This includes all of the items that appear in the items wheel and all of the items that appear on the stats screen, such as the relics and the map. So for this run, I decided to play as Red Knight because he's goated. And then we show up at the barracks, and the only way to get an item here is if you talk to the traveling salesman, which he will give you a free potion. But all you have to do here is just ignore him and then continue on to the right. And this leads us to Home Castle, and I'm pretty sure it's impossible to get any items here, so we just crash our way to the castle keep. And the only way to obtain an item here is by buying a potion after you have cleared out all of the enemies. But since we can't get any items, we had to let the money burn a hole in our pocket. And the next level we have to beat is the Barbarian War, and for this we will be using a lightweight juggle to kill all of the enemies. But once we get to the 4th wave, 2 thieves will spawn in, and when they die, they will drop their bow and arrow. Grabbing them is an instant restart, but if you can avoid them, you'll be able to easily beat this level, bringing you to the Barbarian boss. And all we had to do here was get him to slam against this back wall to get him stuck and then kill him. And now we arrive at Thieves Forest entrance, where right off the bat we have to fight 3 thieves, and since we don't have our bow and arrow, they will drop theirs. Once we defeat them, we will go into a cutscene that leads into a wave of mostly just barbarians. This will be followed by 2 waves of just thieves, forcing us to avoid their bow drops or we'll have to restart. And that brings us to Thieves Forest, where pretty much every enemy is a thief, meaning pretty much every enemy will drop a bow. Now they will only drop their bow and arrow if there already isn't any in existence, meaning you can kill 1 thief to force him to drop his bow and arrow, and then kill 5 thieves and they'll all drop regular enemy drops. And after dodging enough bow and arrows, we make it to the Troll Mother, and after we beat her, we go into the Abandoned Mill, which is basically just jumping over logs and running through doorways, which is pretty easy and boring. After about a minute and 30 seconds, we jump out of the Abandoned Mill and land into Rapids Ride. Here we just fight big fish, and eventually the catfish, and we run absolutely no risk of getting any items, so we move on to Tallgrass Field. And this level is basically just juggling lightweights, and eventually we'll fight the bear boss. And the final wave of this level is 2 thieves, which means more bow drops, but we stealthily dodge these and enter Pipistrello's cave. And this is just 2 waves of slimes, and then we fight Pipistrello himself. Once we beat him, we'll grab some treasure, and then we'll arrive at Flowery Field. And again, there are no obtainable items in this level, allowing us to easily beat it. And that brings us to Wedding Crash, but just like Flowery Field, there's no obtainable items in this level either. So we beat the Conehead Groom and launch ourselves into Parade. And at the end of this level, we will fight the Giant Troll, and while we're fighting the Giant Troll, thieves will spawn in, which means bow drops. But you almost have to be trying for them to drop their bows, because you have to kill them while they're still on the carriage, which normally it's easier just to knock them off of the carriage, because that will instantly kill them. And then we go in Cyclops Cave, where we will mostly fight Coneheads. But on the 2nd wave, we will have to fight thieves too, which means more bow drops. But after we finally beat Cyclops Cave, we move on to Cyclops Gate. And in my opinion, this is the hardest level in the game, and I'm not even sure how I was able to beat it. And after what felt like an infinite amount of hours, we finally make it to Cyclops Fortress, which is actually a breath of fresh air as there is no items attainable in this level. So after we beat the Cyclops, we go over to Lava World. But after the first few waves of Lava World, we hit the first roadblock for our run. There's a giant sandwich gate that requires you to be beefy to open. But to be beefy, you have to grab a sandwich, and we all know that grabbing a sandwich kills this run. So we exited the map and went over to the Industrial Castle, where we are instantly met by a giant steel plate that also requires you to be beefy to open. So since this run was a dead end, I decided to start over with a different plan. So this time, after I beat the Barbarian boss and kissed the princess, I held right, and this allowed me to do character unlock skip to go directly to the pirate ship level, skipping half of the game. Therefore, I did not need to grab any sandwiches to open any doors. So after completing the pirate ship, we land on the desert, and the only thing to avoid here is grabbing the shovel lying on the ground. And after a while, we get abducted by an alien UFO, bringing us into the alien ship. And there's nothing to avoid here, so we'll navigate through the level and go in an escape pod that will send us to Desert Chase. And there's nothing to avoid here either, so we'll beat up the men who just want to ride on their camels and get to the sandcastle. And in here, there's no items to obtain, so we go on to the sandcastle's roof. And after beating multiple waves of enemies, we make it to a volleyball fight. And since I won, this Saracen thought he was helping me out by giving me a map, but really, he just made me restart. So after grinding all the way back up to desert, I somehow managed to grab the shovel lying in the sand and had to restart again. So on my next attempt, after I had beaten the alien ship, I exited to map and used character unlock skip again to go directly to Flooded Temple, but I instantly saw that I was blocked by a door that required the horn to open, so I left Flooded Temple and went to Marsh. And here, we'll start off by fighting some skeletons and then later some snakies, and after a while, we'll make it to the corn boss. And once we beat him, the civilian will run into the barn and come back and give us the horn. But since the horn is an item we cannot use for this run, I exited to map it before he handed it to me. So after returning to Flooded Temple, we realized that we are still blocked by the door requiring the horn to open, making it seem as if our run had really come to an end. But I had an idea, so I replayed Marsh for over an hour, grinding XP to get to level 50. And since rules are weird, I was able to eat turkey legs, but not sandwiches. So I thought I'd show you all the moments of me eating a turkey leg. So after finally reaching level 50, we return to Flooded Temple for one final time, and what we'll do here is we'll use a light, heavy drill combo in a very specific spot, and this will allow us to clip through the door without using the horn. And inside of the temple is just 2 waves of fishmen, and then we go to Medusa's lair, where we just fight more fishmen, snakies, and eventually Medusa. We run absolutely no risk of getting any items in these levels. And now we get to Full Moon, where we also can't get any items, and that leads us to Snow World, where we juggle a bunch of Eskimos, but we also run no risk of getting any items here either. And eventually we get to the Frost King, and after we beat him, we progress to the final few levels. And we launch from Wizard Castle Takeoff and fight a bunch of cult minions. Then we have to fight the Painter, and once we beat him, we have to fight the Undead Cyclops. Once we beat him, we progress to the Necromancer. Now in the first wave of the Necromancer fight, there is one thief, but however, the enemies in the Necromancer fight have a guaranteed food drop, and this guaranteed food drop overrides the guaranteed bow drop, meaning there is no risk of getting any items here either. So after we beat the Necromancer, we make it to the final battle. And here we fight 6 phases of the Evil Wizard, but each of these forms can be easily beaten without any items, allowing us to beat the Evil Wizard and return to the barracks, where we kiss the Orange Princess and end the run. So, can you beat Castle Crashers without getting any items? Yes, you can, but no, you will not be able to beat every single level. Thank you to KebuZ for giving me this video idea, and thank you for watching, and figuratively speaking, see you next time.